All right, let's dive in today. We're going deep into ancient Egypt,
Ooh, exciting.
but not just, the pyramids and the mummies. We're tackling the dynasties.
Right, getting into how this whole civilization was actually, structured and ruled.
Exactly. And we've got some really cool sources that map out this whole journey, like from the
Oh,
very first pharaohs all the way through
like
the,
the end.
yeah, the fall of Cleopatra.
Wow.
It's a wild ride. So buckle up.
I'm ready.
One thing that just blows my mind is that there were at least 30 dynasties
Yeah.
in ancient Egypt.
30.
30. Like we're talking a continuous line of rulers for over 3,000 years.
That's like unfathomable. I mean, how do you even wrap your head around that?
I know, right? It's hard to even imagine that kind of like historical depth.
Yeah, like Egypt just didn't pop up out of nowhere, you know? It all
Yeah.
started with this guy, King Menes. He's the one who brought Upper and Lower Egypt together.
Oh, right. Creating that first dynasty.
Mm-hmm. And we actually have this amazing artifact, the Narmer palette. It shows like this pivotal moment.
Oh, I've seen pictures of that.
You can see Menes, who might also be the same guy as Narmer. It's still a bit of a debate, but he's wearing these two crowns, one from Upper Egypt, one from Lower Egypt.
So a real symbol of that unification.
Totally. And you know where they set up the first capital?
Let me think.
Memphis.
Of course. It just seems so fitting, for the start of this massive civilization.
Right. It's like the perfect starting point. And from there, we get into the Old Kingdom. Things really start to take off during this time.
Ah, yes, the Old Kingdom. Pyramids, power, all that good stuff.
Exactly. This is when you get those iconic pyramids at Saqqara and Giza, those incredible, massive tombs.
It's crazy to think about the amount of, work and planning that went into building those things.
Oh, absolutely. The sheer scale of them and the precision is just mind-blowing.
And the fact that they were aligning them with the stars, it's incredible what they knew back then.
And, it wasn't just about the pyramids. This period really shaped their religious beliefs, especially around death and the afterlife. These ideas, they stuck around, they were hugely influential throughout, all of Egyptian history.
So the pharaohs weren't just powerful rulers, they were like divine figures.
Pretty much. They were seen as intermediaries between the gods and the people. That gave them immense power, of course.
I can see how that would help maintain control for so long.
Right.
But even with that religious power, things weren't always smooth sailing, were they?
Not at all.
There were times when Egypt wasn't this unified, powerful force.
Yeah, it's funny because Egyptian history has this kind of cyclical pattern. You get these periods of strong, centralized rule, and then things fragment, everything breaks apart, and then eventually gets pulled back together again.
So it wasn't just a straight line of, pharaoh after pharaoh.
Nope. After the Old Kingdom, we enter what's called the First Intermediate Period. Basically, the pharaoh's grip on power loosened, things got unstable, and these tribal kingdoms popped up.
Tribal kingdoms. So, smaller, independent regions challenging the pharaoh.
Exactly. And it took a strong leader like Mentuhotep to come in and pull everything back together again. He started the Middle Kingdom.
And he's the one who moved the capital to Thebes.
Yep. Thebes became this huge center of power and culture. Things were pretty good for a while, but then, history repeats itself.
That cycle again, huh?
Mhm.
So they never really figured out how to, break out of that pattern.
It seems not. It's almost like those same forces that led to the fragmentation kept popping up. Ambitious regional leaders, maybe the economy took a hit, or pressure from outside forces. Whatever the reason, after the Middle Kingdom, you get another period of division.
This is the second intermediate period, right?
That's the one. But even then, they managed to reunite again, this time under the 17th and 16th dynasties. That kicks off the new kingdom.
So they were a resilient bunch, huh? Always finding a way to pull themselves back together.
Definitely. But I guess even resilience has its limits.
You're talking about the external pressures?
Yeah, eventually those became too much to handle. The third intermediate period, things are really starting to decline, and they're becoming more vulnerable to outside forces.
And this is where the Assyrians come in.
Exactly. The Assyrians, they were a powerful empire to the east, and they really weakened the pharaohs. It was like setting the stage for Alexander the Great's conquest in 332 BC.
Ah, yes, Alexander. That's a whole other story. He's the one who moved the capital to Alexandria, right?
Yep. Alexandria became a major center of learning and culture under Greek rule.
That must have been a huge shift for Egypt, going from pharaohs to Greek rulers.
It was. But the Ptolemies, the dynasty that ruled after Alexander, they were actually pretty interesting.
Oh, yeah, the Ptolemies.
Yeah. Ptolemy, who was one of Alexander's generals, He started this whole line of rulers that lasted for like 300 years, and they did something kind of cool.
It's a,
They didn't just impose like purely Greek culture, they embraced a lot of Egyptian traditions too.
so it was more of a blend.
Yeah. It was this really fascinating mix of Greek and Egyptian influences. That's what makes this period so unique. And of course, you can't talk about the Ptolemies without mentioning Cleopatra.
Right, the last of the Ptolemaic pharaohs. Her story is definitely one for the history books.
Totally. Her alliance with Mark Antony was, well, a bit of a gamble.
A gamble that didn't pay off.
Nope. The Battle of Actium, where they faced off against Octavian, was kind of the nail in the coffin.
It really was the end of an era. No more independent Egypt. They became part of the Roman Empire.
Exactly. And just like that, thousands of years of dynastic rule came to an end.
So we've gone through these 30 dynasties. We've seen all the power struggles, the rises and falls, this whole civilization's legacy. It's incredible.
It really is. And it makes you wonder,
What do you mean?
well, we know there are gaps in the historical record, especially during those periods of fragmentation. What if there were more dynasties? More rulers we haven't even discovered yet?
Oh, wow. Lost pharaohs, forgotten stories.
Exactly. Take the Second Intermediate Period, for example. We know so little about that time.
That's true. There could be all sorts of secrets still hidden, waiting to be unearthed. Who knows how many more dynasties are out there, just waiting to be discovered.
Right. It's a pretty exciting thought.
It is. There's always more to learn. Thanks for taking this deep dive into ancient Egyptian dynasties with us. We hope you learned something new, maybe got inspired to do some exploring of your own. Who knows, maybe you'll be the one to uncover the next lost dynasty.
Wouldn't that be amazing?
Until next time.